some of you that maybe don't have as much background with the Urban Ministry Institute, or as we say, TUMI. See that on the side of the building. That's a part I wanted to share just a bit of history about, so those of you that maybe don't have as much background can have some framework for what we're going to be sharing this evening. And this goes back a lot of years. Way back in the mid-70s, Don and Beth, Joe Graham back there were a handful of us that were part of this ministry beginning. And in fact, for a period of years, Don was directing the ministry here. And I would always sense, we'd hear him talk about, how do you do theological training among the poor? How do you provide that? Where people aren't going to go to typical seminaries, don't have degrees, whatever, couldn't afford. How do you do that training? Remember those discussions way back when. Well, God led Don and Beth on, and they went to Wheaton. Don did his undergraduate work, their master's work, then went on and completed his PhD work in theology, University of Iowa. Then God called them back here. And that was in 1996, 95. One of these days I'm going to get that right. Yeah. And that was a wonderful moment. Don was Vice President of Education within World Impact at that time. It came to establish the Urban Ministry Institute. And we knew leadership was taking place because class after class after class was taught here. Well over 100. I don't mean one evening class. That's 8 weeks of class. Phenomenal number of classes and leaders that were affected during that time. But in the midst of that, the capstone curriculum was written. And that curriculum is an amazing achievement. It's the best way to think of it is full seminary curriculum written down in DVD form, tests, quizzes prepared. It's 10,000 pages worth of material. Took 10 years to write. And it was written in such a way that leaders who were a few steps ahead of their students could take them through seminary training. Now, we had, on our campus, other places, we knew something big was taking place, but we had a hard time understanding what was all happening here. And if you have never seen this curriculum, after this program, we encourage you to take a walking tour through that end of the building. You'll see it, and you can hear more at that time. But we knew God was doing something. In class, this was written with the idea, if we had success in our church planting efforts, how again were we going to train the leaders? What we didn't know was how this was going to go way beyond World Impact. And in these last years, it has been phenomenal to watch. There are now close to 110 sites in this country and around the world, and growing rapidly as hundreds and hundreds of leaders are being trained.